So good morning, sir, and good morning, batch. I am Christian James Eleazar Fernandez Aragon, and I will be reporting Civil Disturbance Management Operation Rule number 26. So general guidelines, the PNP units tasked to maintain peace and order shall not interfere with the holding of public assembly. So sinasabi sa general guidelines na ang PNP units ay nandoon lamang dapat sa specific place kung saan nagaganap yung public assembly. Uh, para na rin ma-ensure yung peace and order at masiguradong walang manggugulo doon sa nagaganap na public assembly. Then to ensure public safety, a civil disturbance management or CMD contingent under the command of a police commissioned officer or PCO with the rank of police senior inspector or higher shall be detailed and stationed at least 100 meters away from the place where the public assembly is being held. So clear naman yung pagkasabi na dapat ang magko-command lang ay yung senior inspector or higher rank. At dapat naka-station siya 100 meters away from the place where the public assembly was being held. Next is, in the absence of any permit from the LGU concerned, the PCO is in command should exert effort in persuading the demonstration to disperse peacefully and vacate the public place. So in addition, sinasabi rin na kapag walang permit yung mga nagde-demonstrate from LGU or local government unit, ay pwede silang paalisin o disperse ng PCO or Police Commissioned Officer. Next slide po. Next is specific guidelines. When assistance is requested by the leaders, organizers, it shall be imperative for the CMD contingent to perform their duties while observing the rights of demonstrators. So pag sinabing imperative, it is giving an authoritative command, pero take note, dapat pa rin mabigyan ng halaga yung rights ng mga demonstrators. For example, yung freedom of speech. Letter A, the CMD contingent shall not carry any kind of firearms, but may be equipped with um, baton or riot sticks, crash helmets with visors, gas mask, boots, or ankle high shoes with shin guards. So dito naman sa letter A, bakit kaya hindi pwedeng magdala ng any kind of firearms? Kasi based on my research, dahil hindi naman daw gera ang pinuntahan ng mga PNP unit doon sa lugar or or law enforcers. And those equipments listed are suited sa mga demonstrations lang. Then letter B, tear gas, smoke grenades, water cannons, or any similar anti-riot device shall be used unless the public assembly is attended by actual violence or serious threats of violence or deliberate destruction of property. Maximum tolerance shall be always be observed. Dito naman sa letter B, these are the equipments. Yung mga nabanggit ko kanina ay yung mga equipments na makakapagpatigil sa demonstrations. For example, yung tear gas. Siyempre kapag naghagis na nun yung ating mga law enforcers, pwede nang matigil pwedeng malesen yung nangyayaring commotion kasi yung tear gas is masakit siya sa mata. Then letter C, the organization and membership of CDM contingents as well as their deployment and employment shall be in accordance with existing PNP rules and regulations. So, CMD, ibig sabihin Civil Disturbance Management. Dito sa letter C, clear naman yung pagkakasabi na dapat nakadeploy yung mga law enforcement or PNP personnel with accordance with the rules and regulations. Bakit? For example, may public assembly nagaganap sa isang lugar. Tapos, yung mga personnel na dineploy mo, 500 meters. So, o kaya naman, pinagsama-sama mo lahat. Hindi nakakalit yung mga personnel. Sa palagay mo ba, mapipigilan niya agad yung nangyayaring gulo? Siyempre hindi, kasi malayo sila. And bago pa man nila mapigilan yung commotion na nangyayari, baka marami nang nasaktan or mga nasugatan doon sa nangyaring commotion. So next slide. Next is CMD operational task, isolate the area. So meaning dapat walang makakalapit dun sa demonstrators doon sa mismong venue. Kasi lalong magkakagulo pag yung mga demonstrators is nakalapit. Letter B, secure likely targets. For example, ito is andun yung yung president. So of course, yung ipoprotect ng ating PNP personnel ay yung ating president kasi siya yung mas prone na ma-target ng mga demonstrators. The next is letter C, control crowds. So, ito yung pag may nakita kayong nanggugulo or nagsisimula ng parang riot, pahintuin mo na agad, hindi yung hahayaan mo lang kasi maaring mas lumaki pa yung gulong nangyayari. Then letter B, establish and area control. So ito yung kokontrolin mo na yung paligid nung may nagaganap na commotion. Then letter C, neutralize special threats. Yung pag sinabi nating neutralize, ayun yung something na ineffective, so papahintuin na agad yung nagkukos ng gulo. Next is CMD operational approaches. Letter A, the commitment of CDM contingents must be viewed as a last resort. Their note, therefore, should never be greater than what is necessary under the circumstances. So clear yung pagkakasabi dito na dapat yung force na in-enforce mo is hindi dapat greater. Kasi mamaya wala ginagawa yung demonstrator na masama, tapos biglang sisipain mo or hahampasin mo siya ng baton. So lalong magkakaroon ng commotion. Kaya dapat observe properly and apply what is necessary lang. The next is, this does not mean though that the number of troops employed should be minimized. So dapat hindi pa rin yung nakadeploy doon ng mga tauhan. Doubts concerning the number of troops required should be normally be resolved in favor of deployment of large numbers since the presence of such large number may prevent the deployment. So, yung pag nag-disperse ka ng large number, pwede daw nung mapigilan yung maaring nagbabadyang commotion na mangyayari. So, next letter is letter B. In selecting an operational approach to a civil disturbance situation, the ground commander and his personnel must adhere to the minimum necessary force principle. Sa letter B, meaning there are sufficient force to bring the situation under control or to defend against the hostile act or hostile intent. So letter C, effects should be extend to create the image of a restrained and well-disciplined force. So para raw mapanatili yung law and order sa PNP units, dapat daw they should make a restrained and well-disciplined image, which is important when you are enforcing the law of or when you are enforcing peace and order. Bawal kung ano-ano yung ginagawa habang nakabantay ka or naka-duty. Kasi baka mamaya, pinangyari ka palang gulo, wala ka pang alam. So, next is CMD contingents should be visible. Any activity which might excite rather than calm should be avoided when possible. So, bakit kaya kailangan yung excitement is ma-avoid? So dahil pwede siyang maging cause ng commotion, kaya hanggat maaari, gusto yung maiwasan ng CMD. Letter D, consistent with the controlling principle that the controlling principle that he must be the minimum necessary force to accomplish his mission, the ground commander shall equip the CMD contingent only with rattan stick, truncheon, baton, shield, Kevlar helmet, and handcuffs. So again, those equipments are suitable in a possible riot, especially the shield. Mapoprotektahan nun yung ating mga enforcers. Letter E, in the situations requiring the use of baton, truncheon should only target fleshy part of the body such as arms, torso, legs, and thighs. Hitting protesters with the baton or truncheon on the head, face, neck, shoulder blades, elbow, fingers, groins, knees, and ankles must be avoided since strikes to this part may cause serious to permanent injuries or even death. So, so sa letter E, malino yung pagkakasabi na kung bakit hindi pwedeng targetin yung mga parts na yon. Dahil basically, that's a vital point of a human body. It may cause permanent damage or worse is death, which is against the law. Letter F, protesters that are arrested must be properly restrained, handcuffed using scientific control methods, and thereafter brought safety to the police station for processing. Arrested protesters must not be kicked, punched, or dragged by hair or feet. So kicking or punching is not part when arresting any person, and it is illegal. Kung maaring hulihin siya, dapat ng maayos. Yung possible instance lang na pwedeng makagamit ng force yung isang law enforcers ay kapag nag-restrain yung hinuhuli nila or kapag hindi sila sumunod. Which is kapag, for example, is pinupusasan nila yung yung kapag pinupusasan nila pero hindi ayaw talaga magpaposas. Doon lang maaring makagamit ng force yung ating mga police officers. And pero take note, dapat in accordance pa rin yung gagawin nila. Hindi dapat wala dapat kasamang sipa or suntok. Kasi pwede rin silang makasuhan. Letter G, whenever appropriate, deploy properly, restrained and equipped female CDM personnel. So in this part, wala akong masyadong ma-research, pero ang naiisip ko lang na kaya siya napasama is I think female CMD personnel ay sila mas magaling silang mag-analyze ng situation. So that's all for my part. Thank you.
Hi. Good day everyone. I'm Jessa Agravante and ang i-report ko is Rule 28 and Rule 29. So first is police assistance in the implementation of final decisions or orders of the courts in civil cases of quasi-judicial bodies and of administrative bodies on controversies within their state. Police assistance in the implementation of final decisions or orders or resolution of the courts in civil cases of quasi-judicial bodies and the administrative bodies, except except cases with issues temporary restraining order or injunction. The request for police assistance shall be submitted to the Office of the Chief PNP in the case the final decision or order to be implemented is rendered by the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, the Court of Tax Appeals, the Sandigan Bayan, quasi-judicial bodies, or administrative bodies. If the final decisions or order is rendered by the Regional Trial Court or the Municipal Trial Court, um, the request shall be submitted to the Office of the Regional Director of the Police Regional Office, RDPRO, having territorial jurisdiction over the police implementation. So dito, if the final decision has been conducted by the Regional Trial Court, the police assistance request needs to be submitted to the Office of Regional Director of the Police Regional Office. So next is ano nga ba yung mga requirements para sa police assistance? So first is the written request for the police assistance shall be signed by the sheriff or equivalent officer in quasi-judicial or administrative bodies. Letter Okay. Letter B is the written request for police assistance shall be signed by the sheriff or equivalent officer in the quasi-judicial or administrative bodies. C is the request is filed at least 5 working days prior to the actual implementation. And D is the original document of the final decision or the resolution must be presented in the absence of the same copy duly authenticated by the clerk of court or other authorized representative of the court, quasi-judicial or administrative body will suffice. So the bottom line here is if someone has committed the crime, all the possible papers has need to be assigned by the administrative bodies or the person who is in charge of the case. So next is um period to render police assistance. If the if the request for police assistance satisfies all the requirements police assistance so the next is period to render police assistance. If the request of police assistance satisfies all the requirements, police assistance shall be rendered within three working days from receipt of the directive from the chief PNP or RD or PRO unless a specific period written in the order or due to inherent impossibility of rendering assistance. A longer period is required. So kapag nag-grant na yung police assistance request, valid lang siya ng three working days unless stated otherwise. So office or unit that may be tasked to render police assistance. The chief PNP as may be uh, recommended by the director of operation direct recommended by director for operations may task any operational support unit of the PNP or the PRO that has jurisdiction in the area where the decision or the resolution shall be implemented to render police assistance. In case of request to the RD, PRO, the latter may task the Public Safety Company Battalion, Police Provincial Office of PPO, City Police Office Station, CPC, or Municipal Police Station, MPS, within his jurisdiction to render police assistance. In case of direct filing or request to local police units or operational support units, the request shall be referred to the OCPNP or RD PRO as appropriate. In the meantime, no police assistance shall be rendered until the CPNP or RD PRO shall be acted on the request. So, ang pwedeng mag-assign ng operational support ay kung sino yung may jurisdiction sa area. So, extent of police assistance. The head of office or unit tasked to render police assistance shall have the discretion to employ sufficient number of PNP uniform personnel after taking into consideration the importance of the case, the scope of the resistance to be encountered, if there is any, and the general peace and order condition in the area. Unless a higher ranking officer is necessary and more PNP personnel shall be required, the police team that will render police assistance shall be led by the police commissioned officer or PCO with the rank of police senior inspector. All the team members shall be prescribed uniform while rendering assistance. So, sa role of PNP, personal rendering police assistance, everyone is qualified naman. If you're a PNP personnel, pero you have to take in consideration the possible things that might happen. During the case and kailangan yung police assistance na naka-assign sa case, ah, kailangan yung police assistance na naka-assign sa case has supreme knowledge of the things that needs to be done during the disruptive circumstances. So, the next is Rule 29. Police police assistance in the implementation of of final decisions or orders or resolutions of the COMELEC or DILG or local government unit exercising disciplinary power in administrative. So, cases of elective officials. Mm, Requirements for the request for police assistance. The police assistance shall only shall only be granted upon the written request of COMELEC or DILG accompanied with the original or authenticated copy of the final decisions or order or resolution to be implemented. Um, ang police assistance ay nagbibigay lamang sa kung ano yung nakasulat na kahilingan ng COMELEC or DILG na dapat may kasamang authenticated copy ng final decision na utos na dapat ipatupad. So next is period to render police assistance. If the request for police assistance satisfies all the requirements and the clearance to render police assistance is approved by the Chief PNP, the police assistance requested shall be rendered within 3 working days from receipt of the directive from the Chief PNP or for a longer period when the required by the circumstances. Kapag yung police assistance request ay pasok sa requirements na kailangan, at kapag naaprubahan na din ng Chief PNP, marirender na siya within 3 working days or stated otherwise. Next is extent of police assistance. The Special Task Group Commander tasked to render police assistance shall have the discretion to employ sufficient number of PNP uniformed personnel after taking into consideration the scope of the resistance to be encountered if there is any and the general peace and order condition in the area, unless a higher ranking officer is necessary and more PNP personnel are required. The police team that will render police assistance should be led by the Police Commissioned Officer PCO with the rank of Police Senior Inspector. All members of the shall be prescribed uniformed when rendering police assistance. So dito sa sa extent police assistance, parehas lang siya sa Rule 28 unless a higher ranking officer is necessary, and sa Rule 28 kasi ah basta magkaparehas sila pero unless the higher ranking officer is necessary and more PNP personnel are required. At yung police assistance dapat pangunahan ng police commissioned officers, so dapat rank ng police senior inspector, and dapat lahat ng member ng special task group ay naka-uniform kapag magre-render ng police assistance. So parang parehas lang sila. Parang parehas lang. So sa Rule 28 naman ay sa rule of PNP personnel rendering police assistance. The rule of PNP when rendering police assistance shall be limited to the maintenance of peace and order, crowd control, and the security of duly authorized officer of the COMELEC, the ILG, or the local government unit implementing the decision or the resolution. In no case shall PNP member participate in the implementation of the decision or the resolution which shall be undertaken by the duly authorized officer of the COMELEC or the ALG or the LGU concerned. In performing their role, the PNP personnel shall at all times observe maximum tolerance and respect of human rights. The use of reasonable force shall only be resorted to their self-defense and defense of strangers. Moreover, the PNP personnel shall always exercise utmost impartiality and neutrality in effecting its role. The duly authorized officer of the COMELEC or DILG or the local government unit personally leading the implementation of the said decision order resolution shall have the final disposition whether to proceed or not with the implementation of the decision order resolution. Dito naman, ang pinagkaiba lang ng Rule 28 at Rule 29 ay ang sa Rule 28, PNP personnel ang nag implement ng decision order resolution. Sa Rule 29 naman, COMELEC or DILG ang nagde-lead ng implementation. So, that's all. Thank you.
So, again, I am Christian James Eleazar Fernandez Aragon, and I will be discussing hostage situation, barricaded situations under Rule number 32. So, procedure to be followed in a hostage situation, the following steps shall be undertaken. So, letter A critical incident management. Management committee shall be activated immediately. PNP Standard Operation Procedure number ODO-2010-003, Organization and Procedures of Critical Incident Management Committee and Critical Incident Management Task Group. So, this is a book where you can read how to handle crisis, the difference of national and local crisis, hostage, negotiations, and action stage, post-action operation, training, equipment, uniform, etc. So letter B, incident scene shall be secured and isolated. So if the hostage taking already occurred or it is already done, uh, the place shall be secured and isolated para kung may mga natirang ebidensya doon sa hostage scene at ay makolekta agad siya and para wala na ring makalabas or makapasok sa scene kung saan naganap yung hostage taking. So letter C, identify and secure stronghold. The stronghold is where the hostage taking happened. So dapat siyang i-secure. Paano? Lalagyan siya ng harang ng ating mga law enforcers. And letter D, as much as possible, ensure the control of communication lines and cut off all the other lines as well as electricity and water supply to allow for more bargaining. So para maiwasan yung criminal na na makipag or yung ng hostage sa loob ng facility or other premises ay hindi na dapat putulin yung mga communications line para hindi na siya makatawag pa or makapag-communicate sa iba pa nitong kasamahan na possible na nasa labas. And kung naaalala nyo yung sa case ng Manila hostage taking na si Rolando Mendoza, dahil nga sa hindi tinanggal yung signal doon sa mismong mismong lugar kung saan nagaganap yung hostage taking, ay napapanood niya doon sa bus yung mga nangyayari sa labas, which is naging advantage para sa kanya. Letter E, unauthorized person shall not be allowed entry and exit to the incident scene. So, self-explanatory na to. Kaya naman, bakit kaya hindi dapat sila payagan? Siyempre, kung hindi ka authorized person, ay hindi ka makalabas-pasok sa venue kung saan nagaganap yung incident. Dahil baka mamaya, isa na sa makalabas yung ng hostage or kaya naman yung kasamahan niya is makapasok doon sa crime scene or sa pinangyarihan ng hostage taking. So witnesses names address, and other information shall be recorded. So, self-explanatory naman na to. Siyempre, yung witnesses, yung magbibigay ng informations, dapat meron ka ring information niya, which is yung personal information, yung name, or yung address. Then, sunod is witnesses shall be directed to a safe location. So, bakit kaya? Para maiwasan na or mas maayos na makuha ng information yung witness or para na rin ito sa sa magiging privacy na rin niya. Then letter H, evacuate all victims, injured person immediately when the opportunity permits. So, ayun, self-explanatory naman rin siya na kapag nagkaroon ng pagkakataon ay dapat madala na agad yung mga hostages or ma-evacuate sila. And yung mga injured dapat nabigyan agad ng first aid. Then letter I, the arrest of the perpetrator shall be the last paramount concern. So some of the hostage takers take it seriously at minsan ay hindi talaga sila magpapahuli ng buhay. Sa ating authorities, decidido yun, hindi sila magpapahuli ng buhay sa ating mga authorities. Dahil minsan nagkakos ito ng decidido sila mag-cause ng danger sa public for many reasons. Example is problems nila financially or sa family problems or minsan naman dahil sa drugs. So letter J, conduct debriefing immediately after the conclusion of the incident. So basically, ito yung pag-discuss or para malaman yung reason kung bakit nagawa ng perpetrator na mag-commit ng crime which is yung hostage taking. So next slide po. Next is ground commander on scene. Commander. There shall be only one ground commander or on scene commander holding at least a senior rank and or one with experience in hostage crisis situation or relative training until such time that he officially designates as spokesperson. He may be issued appropriate press statement and continue to perform the role of the spokesperson. So bakit dapat experience yung ground commander? Simple lang. Kasi isang maling decision lang ang maaari niya magawa ay pwede na makapagpahamak dun sa mga hostages or dun sa mga victims. Kaya dapat alam ng ground commander kung ano yung gagawin niya or dapat may background or experience na siya. At isa rin siya sa maglalabas ng information sa media. Alam niyo na kung ano yung mga dapat na ilabas at kung ano yung hindi. Next is negotiators or negotiation team. Negotiators shall be designated by the ground commander. No one shall be allowed to talk to the hostage taker without clearance from the negotiator or ground commander. The negotiation team is directly under control and supervision of the on-scene commander. So, lahat ng kilos ng mga negotiators ay sinusupervise ng ground commander. Siya rin ang nagde-designate or nag-a-appoint ng mga negotiators. Sinabi rin na no one is allowed to talk to the hostage taker without any clearance sa negotiator and ground commander. Pwede rin dito may example yung unlike dun sa nangyari sa Manila hostage crisis na meron dong isang radio station na bigla na lang nakakontak kay Mendoza, which is hindi alam ng ating ground commander and ng negotiators. At doon nila interview yung si Mendoza. Next is negotiation team structure will be as follows. Letter A, negotiation team leader. Yung ginagawa ng team leader is dapat magaling siya sa communication skills para ma-achieve nila yung kanilang goal. At dapat marunong or magaling din siya mag-analyze ng situation. Letter B, primary negotiator. Sila naman yung nag-engage sa subject sa conversation and tries to obtain the information from the subject. So, kailangan silang, parang gusto nilang makakuha ng information sa hostage taker. So, letter C, secondary negotiator. The secondary negotiator relays outside information to the primary negotiator. They act as the communication link between the other team members and the primary negotiator.
The secondary negotiator is available to relieve the primary negotiator if necessary. Next is intelligence, liaison, recorder. Sila naman yung from the word itself, nagre-record ng mga pangyayari. Next is negotiator. Sila yung nagde-decide or nagkakandak ng meeting to whether grant or not yung mga request ng hostage taker. Next slide po. Next is assault team. An assault team shall be alerted for deployment in case the negotiations fails. Members of the assault team shall wear authorized and easily recognizable uniform during the conduct of the operation. So if the negotiation fails, sila yung nag-handle. Like yung sa Manila hostage taking, nung hindi na gumana yung negotiation um, toward Mendoza and the negotiators, an ano na, kumilos na yung ating PNP and SWAT para makontrol yung area. And at the end of of the the operation is napatay yung hostage taker ng isang sniper. Um, Next is support personnel. An ambulance with medical crew and fire truck shall be detailed at the incident area. So ito naman yung ano, for example, ito yung mga naka-standby lang doon sa place para in case na matapos yung incident or hostage taking, ma-rescue na agad yung mga injured and mabigyan na sila ng first aid medication. Next is plans. The on-scene commander shall upon the assessment of the situation, prepare necessary plans to include but not limited to letter A, emergency response plan depends on the threat posed by the hostage takers and need of the negotiation team on the on-scene commander. For example, sa mall, di ba marami siyang exit points? So para hindi makatakas or makalabas yung hostage taker, mag-designate na agad yung commander ng mga tauhan na magbabantay sa lahat ng exit points. Letter B, breakout plan. Possibly of breakout shall be considered immediately upon drawing up negotiation strategy. This should be considered as one of the priority plans. So breakout plan, ito yung most important part ng negotiation strategy. Letter C, delivery plan. In case of hostage takers, change plans in the middle of execution. Delivery plan, ito naman yung actual delivery. Ito na yung actual na operation made by the negotiator and the board. For example, hindi na umaayon yung hostage taker sa napag-usapan or nasa negotiation nila. Dito na papasok yung delivery plan to stop the hostage taking or the hostage taker. Next po. Next is surrender plan. Should be drawn up in a way that the hostages' lives will not be jeopardized. So basically, iwasan lang na may mamatay or hanggat maaari hanggat maaari na may masaktan. And that's the essence of negotiation, to minimize jeopardizing life. Letter E, hostage reception release. For security reasons, released hostages should be contained and isolated. So, because victims of hostages may feel very distressed. So, para maiwasan ang madagdagan yung stress na nararamdaman nila, ina-isolate muna sila para kumalma. Letter F, collection plan. Safety of the police personnel involved in this is the priority consideration. So, hostage takers have their own weapons that may use to kill somebody, including police personnel. So, safety or collection plan should be considered important. Next is coordination. Proper coordination with all participating elements shall be done to consolidate efforts in solving the crisis. Meaning, yung mga nabanggit kanina is dapat masunod siya. Kung hindi, maaaring mag-fail yung plan and baka mas lalong mahirapan makipag-negotiate or mas lalo pang may masamang mangyari or magkaroon ng mga injuries or worst is magkaroon ng death. Next is safety of hostages. In negotiating for the release of hostages, the safety of the hostage shall always be paramount. So, yung laging tatandaan na dapat lagi dito tandaan na priority lagi yung safety ng mga hostages. Kahit tapos na yung hostages, um, dapat pa rin i-consider yung safety and protection. Next po. Next is guidelines during negotiations. Letter A. Situations must be stabilized first and contained before the start of negotiation. Dito, you need to strengthen the plan before you start the negotiation. Hindi pwedeng wala ka pang plan, tapos magkakandak na agad ng negotiation. Panigurado, hindi yun gagana. Mag-fail ka kaagad. Letter B, all relevant tools and information that can strengthen a negotiator's position and create a favorable climate for a successful negotiation must be prepared. Facts relevant to the situation, financial and non-financial terms, issues and concerns, etc. Meaning dapat before mag-start yung negotiation ay may nag-gather ka ng relevant tools, informations about sa situation para maging um, successful or favorable yung gagawing negotiation. So sa paanong paraan? Gather facts relevant in the situation, financial and non-financial terms, issues and corners. Dahil posible na humingi ng amount yung hostage taker para lang palayain yung mga hostages. Letter C, do not introduce outsiders, non-law enforcement or non-law enforcement officers into the negotiation process unless their presence is extremely necessary in the solution of the crisis. If so introduced, they shall be properly advised on the do's and don'ts of hostage negotiation. Like what happened to Manila hostage crisis, inintroduce yung kapatid ng hostage taker. And pinayagan mo kipag-usap. Also, they inform na yung kapatid, in-inform nila na sa mga do's and don'ts. Not knowing na may intent pala yung dalawang magkapatid to carry out the plan. Letter D, in case the negotiator breaks down or she finds himself or herself in a deadlock, it is recommended to employ the service of a mediator. Throughout the course of a mediation, a good mediator may also provide the person some control over certain parts of the mediation. So, may kakayahan yung mediator na kontrolin yung nangyayari. Kaya dapat na siyang i-employ dito sa part na to. Letter E, police officers without proper training shall not be allowed to participate in hostage negotiations. So bakit kaya? Basically because if they fail, it will cost their lives or someone's life. Then letter F, whatever the scale of an incident and the extent of resources deployed, it is essential that proper liaison exists between tactical assault team, technical support team, and the negotiation team. So liaison from the word itself na naman. Sila yung magre-record, kaya makakatulong sila dito sa ating tactical or assault team. Letter G, all activities on the scene, even the delivery of food to the stronghold must have technical coordination with the NTL or coordinator. Bakit? Because coordinator is responsible to what will happen in the scene. So he must be informed everything. Next po. So negotiation through mediator. Letter A, the mediator will act as a referee, helping the negotiators resolving their differences. So from the word itself, yung mediator is siya yung mag-act as referee. Letter B, the mediator must be well versed about the issues and in order to be able to eventually recommend an effective solution. So yun, ang dapat yung mediator is alam niya yung nangyari bago siya mapasok or ma-involve dun sa mismong scene. Dahil kung hindi niya alam, hindi siya makakaisip ng resolution kung paano matatapos yung hostage taking. Letter C, the main object is to reconcile the object of the negotiator with that of the other party. So basically yung gusto lang ma-achieve dito is yung mediator maintindihan ng both party yung ano parang pangangailangan nila. Parang siya yung yung makikipag-usap dun sa both side to make to make a solution. So that's all for my part again. Thank you.